A while back, I released a character that I had played named Fibonacci. Fibonacci was a changeling mastermind rogue, and his whole shtick was that he was a spy for an evil organization named the Shadow. So his whole thing was to blackmail, was to gather information, to manipulate people into doing the Shadow's bidding without them even knowing it. So very manipulative based character. He was an absolute blast to play. I really enjoyed him. But a while back, I received a challenge from Matthew, one of our viewers, who asked me to make a Bard version of Fibonacci. And I gotta say, Bard fits this flavor like 10 times better than the Rogue ever did. I really forced the Rogue to do that role, but Bards are actually just custom built for it. Starting off with, I went deep into charisma instead of dexterity as a rogue, so my combat potential was garbage. If we're doing it with a bard, we can go deep into charisma, do everything we want to out of combat, and still be powerful in combat. So that alone makes us a way more powerful spy before we even start considering how powerful spells can be at doing the tasks that Fibonacci set out to do. So where Fibonacci the rogue had to be a changeling with a specific magic item to be able to disguise himself. The magic item was the glamour studded leather armor, which changed with him as a changeling. We just have disguise self. So we can be something like a half elf, which is going to be fantastic for this build. With a half elf, we can start out with 16 dexterity, 16 constitution, and still have 17 in charisma, so we can take a half feat at level 4 to get 18 and be ahead of the curve. From my background, I need to pick up thieves tools. I want to pick up a forgery kit as well, so we can make paperwork and fake a bunch of things to go along with our disguises. Actually really important for this build, so let's grab it now. We're going to take the criminal background so that we can use the background feature that allows us to have a criminal contact to gain information, which was a huge deal for Fibonacci and will probably be a big deal for Bard Fibonacci as well. As for our skills, I'm taking deception, persuasion, performance, insight, and perception, and sleight of hand as well. We get a whole bunch of skills with this setup. By being a half elf and a bard, we just get a ton. And then we also have our background. I am purposefully not taking stealth. That's because I do not want to be an infiltrator that sneaks. I want to infiltrate via charisma and disguises. So I am limiting myself in that way to incentivize me to play the playstyle I want to play. As for the subclass of bard, I think Whispers has a cool argument here. It's a lot of fun, but it's more of an assassin. And so honestly, the standout is eloquence here. With eloquence and our expertise in deception and persuasion, we are just going to be able to talk ourselves out of anything super consistently. Also from eloquence, we get unsettling words, which means that we specialize in debuffing enemies. We kind of can minor in that as far as our spell selection goes for combat. At level 4, we're going to be picking up the actor feat. This is going to round out our charisma, and it's going to allow us to fake the voice of anyone we hear for 1 minute, which is going to combine with our disguise self to make our disguise incredibly difficult to see through. Furthermore, actor gives us advantage on these checks, and we have expertise in them. So it's going to take a very, very special person to see through our disguise. As for our spells, our main goal is to manipulate people and to gather information. So towards this end, enchantment and divination spells, and to a lesser extent illusion spells, are going to be where we revolve around. We can take other spells, but that's kind of our niche. As for our cantrips, our only must-take cantrip is Friends. I really like Friends because we can look like anyone, which means we can make anyone hate anyone with a cantrip and a disguise self combination, which can be very powerful, and it's just capable of creating so much chaos. So there's that. Our first level spells, the must take is Disguise Self. That's going to be huge. Other spells include Charm Person, Command, Comprehend Languages, Detect Magic, and Silent Image. Level 2 spells, what I'm looking at is Calm Emotions. Detect Thoughts is a very big one. Enhance Ability. Gift of Gab is a lot of fun. Invisibility, Locate Object, Suggestion, Zone of Truth. All of those stands out, but there are no must takes here. As for third level, I'm looking at Fear, Clairvoyance, Enemies Abound, Dispel Magic, Sending. Tongues is a very big one, though it is less useful once we hit 6th level because our eloquence feature allows us to understand and be understood no matter the language. At 4th level, we're looking at Dimension Door, and to a lesser extent, Greater Invisibility, just more for our defense. Some fit the theme in this section, but aren't very good, so fourth level spells isn't a huge step in our flavor. 5th level spells have excellent flavor. We've got Dominate Person, Gesh, I can actually pronounce it now, Gesh. Legend Lore, Mislead, Modify Memory, Scrying, Telepathic Bond, and Seeming. This level is kind of hard to be happy with because we want to take them all, but we have to choose. As for our magical secrets, I would be looking to pick up spells like Divination, and commune, spells that allow us to get answers to questions. That is what we do. We try and answer hard questions and then use that information to manipulate the world to our advantage. That's what this character is all about. You can tell that the spell selection I went for isn't about power. It's not about being super strong or deadly. It's about manipulation. It's about survival. You stay alive, you gather information, use that information to manipulate the world to your advantage. If we weren't playing a game that often forces combat situations, kind of look at D&D that way, where we like combat, so the DM's going to force combat situations no matter what you do. But if we weren't playing that type of game, this character could very easily go their whole career with never getting into combat. But honestly, that's not fun for anyone, so we do need to be somewhat prepared for combat. But this character really shines in their downtime, gathering information from the world, using it to manipulate the world to their advantage. Some DMs are really going to love that. That's something special about D&D, is that we get to manipulate the world just like we do in the real world, whereas video games, you can't manipulate the world to your advantage in the same way. So some DMs are really going to lean into that and love it, and some aren't. Some, it's going to be a pain in the ass to be dealing with this person who's manipulating your NPCs to do certain things, and they're not going to enjoy it. So this is the type of character that I would really recommend talking to your DM before investing all your time into building it and playing it, just to make sure that you're on the same page. So you will have moments where you're going off on your own, you're doing these clutch charisma checks, you're manipulating the world, you're doing a forgery kit to create these things. You're going to have moments where you shine very bright. So it's very important that you step way back and let your teammates shine very bright in their roles. Specifically, combat is a great time for you to just not be that crazy focused on. You just kind of do stuff in the background, but you really do your turns quickly and you let your allies shine very bright. I think that'll help balance out the dynamics that this character brings into the game. And that is Fibonacci as a bard. Honestly, me shoehorning Fibonacci into a rogue was kind of a mistake. He was terrible at combat. Doing it as a bard build makes so much more sense and is so much more powerful. Don't be like me. Don't force yourself into a horrible situation when you can just take the easy route that is much more powerful. I would recommend doing the bard build before the rogue build. Now that's just my take on a bard super spy. What would be yours? Let me know in the comments down below. But other than that, I just hope you have yourselves a lovely day, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.